Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Rave podcast. On the show today, I'm going to be doing a little bit of amebo because on this show, we do amebo things. I actually have something that I think I'm not the only one that's been feeling this way, and it is the feeling of not knowing what to choose. I think there's a name for it, something decidophobia, I think. And I've been wanting to talk about it for a couple of weeks, but each time I come on here, I just forget that, this is something I need to talk about or ask you guys about. Outside of that, I have the abebo thingy, which I feel like is the major thing I'm going to be talking about, because the other one is just like a question. To ask you guys if you have been in this situation before, what exactly did you do to overcome that? So yeah, when we come back from the short break, we'll jump into the conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. My name is Maranatha Abusu, the host and producer of Rave with Mara podcast. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, etc. So we'll start with the amebo. Last week, Wednesday, let me start off from last episode. I shared the story of a woman who has been married for so many years now. And unfortunately, her husband was sort of stealing from her and using it to develop properties in his name without his wife's knowledge. And when the wife asked for her money back, he started to gaslight her into saying stuff like, "Oh, wait, what have you been eating in this house?" And all of that rubbish. Now, my friend Helen had said that, why didn't I talk to her or sort of cajole her into coming on the podcast, or even if it's to go on to her shop to have my recordings over there. And I was explaining to her how it's not a lot of people that want their faces to be on the internet, especially because they don't want to be judged. And sometimes these women also think, I don't want my husband to be looked at a certain kind of way, which is the way that women love sometimes. They love themselves. And even when their partner is mistreating them in quotes, they also feel like, I don't want people to judge my husband, because in retrospect, if they judge them, they're going to be judging me as well. Now, we went somewhere and we're trying to make inquiries for how my session would go, which unfortunately we had to reschedule that episode because of a sort of miscommunication with the studio manager, which I'm not going to get into. But I'm sad about it because it was an overall experience when we had gone to check out that studio, and I had spoken to my guests expecting that this would be a stroll in the park. My guests were set for the day. I think one already even left the house, and then the other had dressed up and left the house as well. But unfortunately, again, there was a miscommunication, but I don't want to get into it. When we went to the studio to check out the studio, there was a show that was being recorded at the time we went. Now, prior to them getting started, because the guest was ready and then the host was, still preparing and whatnot. And when eventually, before they started to record, this lady started to talk to us, we were gisting and talking about a couple of things. And she said that she got married when she was 21 years old. And she started to open up about a couple of things that happened in that marriage. And we found out that, she had left the marriage and sort of remarried, And she opened up about a couple of other things, which I think that when we say that women in their early 20s don't know jack about marriage, I'm not saying that it doesn't work for a lot of people, especially if this person has your interest at heart. But in a situation where another person is getting married to a younger person, I feel like women who are younger don't know what they're setting themselves up for. But anyway, I don't want to talk about it because this podcast is not about marriage and age gap and all that. I've said that on this episode before, on this podcast rather, before. If you haven't, maybe go back, start listening from the grassroots. But when the show started and, started to talk about her work, because that show is actually a very wonderful show. It is to shed light on women who are doing so well, who have been in their business or field for so many years, who have been able to sustain their business, sort of to shine the light on them, and also give advice to younger women who are coming into that space and share their struggles and challenges, because now she's successful and has wide array of clientele. But the reason I'm talking about this thing is she shared a story with myself and the people who were setting up in the studio prior to the show getting started. When the show started, and they usually, the way the woman's show is structured is in such a way that they do like, I think 15 minutes or so, and then go on a break, then come back and then do another break or something like that. And so while they had gone on the first break, she had said, oh, the next segment you're going to get into is your love life, your marriage and whatnot. And while we were on that break, she had reiterated some of the things she had said to us while the host was getting ready with her makeup and all that. And so she mentioned again how she had been verbally and physically abused in that marriage, and the sort of thing that it's the sort of thing where the man slaps her, and before she starts to think that, oh wait, this man just slapped me. This was already in the marriage, right? Before she registers that, oh wait, I just got slapped by my husband. The deed has already been done, and then he's sort of apologizing or something, and then eventually he buys her like an expensive gift, maybe like a sports car or something. And again, this story is not strange, because I know that we've heard stories of women who have come on social media to say stuff like, oh, I got married to this person, I didn't know what his true color was. And while there are different reasons why women sometimes, in quotes, overlook these things, there are also the things with, men who are very good at pretending, or women who haven't really dated these persons for a couple of years or months even, before they eventually settle down with this person. And while this was going on, she now said, oh, okay, that's what we're talking about. And she said categorically, no, I do not want this to be part of the show. I'm in a good place now. I have healed, but I don't want this to be part of the show, because the show is supposed to focus on my work and my life and my happy place. And I'm in a happy place now, and I don't want to talk about it. And, in that instance, my friend Helen looked at me, and I looked at her in return like, I told you. I don't think it has anything to do with shame. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure it has anything to do with shame, but I think it has a lot to do with, I don't want to be seen in this light anymore. I don't want people to know this part of me. And that's a personal decision. Yeah, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, that, yeah, you can have a story to share, and people can be comfortable to tell you in the, off camera. But when you say, oh, talk to me about it on camera, I don't think a lot of women or people in general would want to do that. And, this is me saying a shout out to men and women out there, especially women who are going through a tough time with their spouses, and they're unable to come out and share their stories or even tell their family members about it, because they think they'll be judged. And especially because maybe their parents or older siblings have warned them against marrying such a person, maybe because of something that they had said to them, and they feel, oh wait, I don't think this person has enough respect for you, or this person is going to treat you right. I'm sorry, but I think that if you finding your confidence means talking about it, I think that you should absolutely talk about it with somebody, maybe not on camera, but you should be able to talk to somebody, one or two persons who can help you through those situations. And now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, if the man had not died due to, one thing or the other, would she have had the courage to actually leave that marriage on her own? I don't know. Because he sort of told her to stop what she was doing, that he was going to take care of her, that is, he doesn't want people outside to feel like he can't take care of his, wife. And also, it was also that thing of, men not wanting you to look a certain kind of way when you're going out. And it was in the same way you were dressing prior to getting married. And I don't mean dressing half naked or dressing overly seductive, but I mean looking smart. And, the man was just a very bad person. He was verbally abusing her, sort of, and also playing these mind games with her when she asked him, oh, this thing I'm wearing, do you think I look good? And he goes, is this what you want to wear? Okay, because he was older than her again, which is that thing where I think sometimes is respect. You respect your partner, but at the same time is also from a place where you're like, if your partner is not coming out to tell you, oh, I don't like this thing, but there is a way their tone comes off that you know that this person doesn't want you to wear this thing, but he doesn't want to come out to say it. And then when she goes back to change the clothes, again, I don't want to focus on that story because it was really sad. And I think my friend went home. As we were leaving, she said, oh, I'm going to look for her on social media because right now she's big, like really big in her field. And I'm wondering if she had stayed with this man back in the day, because she said she had always had the passion for this thing. And I'm thinking, would the husband, the late husband now, let her do what she wanted to do? I don't know, but it's really weird that a lot of women's dreams dies in the homes of their husbands or in their homes when they get married. And it's a very sad thing. Women need to start, and it's that thing again of living for your husband or doing things for your husband. I get that, like, there is a lot of compromise that goes into marriage, but a lot of women are becoming a shadow of themselves, and all they know in marriages now is what their husband wants. Maybe they even like to eat a certain kind of thing, but because their husbands don't like it, they don't even prepare it at all, which I think she had mentioned as well, but it wasn't on camera. It's just a very strange thing, honestly. And again, I'm sorry to women out there who don't have the confidence to leave such men. I think maybe talk to a person who would have the strength for the both of you to, take you out of that marriage. It's very, very crucial. I don't think that you should stay back in a place where you're not being appreciated as a wife. You're not even being seen as a human being or as a person who has thoughts or a mind of their own or who have dreams to accomplish. Off of that, I also want to share this thing again, which I have spoken about on the podcast, which is the amebo that I want to get into. So I know I have said on this episode, and I think on this podcast, I don't know why I keep saying on this episode. I've said on this podcast where I think that parents need to understand that there is a level or stage to which their children get to that they can't influence their children's likes, wants, or hobbies anymore. And I think I mentioned it last episode as well, where I said that there's a level you get to that you need to talk to your parents in a way that you need to create boundaries, and it needs to happen in a way that you're not disrespecting them, or you make them understand that you're not disrespecting them. It's just that this is the idea you have for your life, and that's not where what they're telling you to do and where you're headed is not tallying. And I don't mean that you need to say it in a shouting manner, because of course you can't shout at your parents. Even the Bible says, honor your father and your mother. But in honoring your father and your mother, it doesn't mean that you should do what your parents want and sort of suppress what you want. And the same thing goes for when parents choose career paths and marriage, choice of a life partner for their children. And I know that they don't mean evil, they mean well. But I feel like parents need to understand that maybe they may be looking at this thing from their own generation and what they think life is all about right now. But most of the time, it's not really what your children want. And I think that gone are those days. You have a right to, advise your children on what to do. But I don't think you can force them and use the whole, I'm your father or I'm your mother. I know what to tell you. I know the right thing to tell you to do. Well, you may be right, But anyway, let me get to the story. So my dad and my brother have been going back and forth on this thing where my father wants him to do a certain thing, and he went behind my brother's back. That's my immediate younger brother now. Behind his back to go and do the registration for him and whatnot. And about 2 or 3 months ago, I told him, oh, I want you to get ready for this thing. I registered for you because I think that it would be a sustainable income source. That sort of thing. And my brother had texted me. My dad didn't talk to me about it, but he had texted me to say, please talk to me and talk to your father. And I said, what do you mean? What's going on? And he said, I don't know when we sat down to discuss this thing where he's going behind my back to go and make a registration for him. This one, I'm talking about the recent one. Months back, he had told him, I think you should register for this thing. Right? I think that, because it's I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to say what it is, right? I don't want to say what it is, so you people don't come with your own opinion or whether it is good or bad or whatever. But they had a discussion where he had said, oh, I want to I have already sent money to them for them to put your name in this thing and give you the slot. My brother had said, oh no, I don't have interest in this thing. My dad had said, oh, I've already paid money for it. You can't tell me that you don't have interest for it. And I think he doesn't want his money to waste, that sort of thing. And my brother had said, no, I'm not interested in it. I'm so sorry. You should have discussed with me before going to make payments. And I thought this thing had died though. He was just giving me the gist, And that's my brother was just giving me the gist. And I said, oh, don't worry about it now. Shabi, you already told him you're not interested. Now tell me why yesterday I was lying down on my own early in the morning. And we're even discussing something entirely different with my brother. And then he comes with a voice note that I don't understand what's going on. I'm like, what's happening again? And he said, remember that thing I told you months ago that he said he paid money for them to put my name in a slot or something. Now he's coming to ask me to send him my results. And I'm like, why does he need my results? And he's saying, oh, that thing, the training date is already out and they're trying to move people there, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do it. I already told you from the get-go that I don't want to do it. And my father goes, I'm your father. Oh my God. I'm your father. I have a right to tell you what to do. It was so funny because I laughed so hard. To my brother, it wasn't a joke. Like, my dad was really serious. And, my brother had said, oh no, I'm not going to send it to you. Tell me why my father sent my sister, that's our last born, to go to his house to tell him to give him the results by force, by fire. And, that was the point that he texted me and he was like, please help me and talk to your father. I'm not interested, before they would say, oh, I'm speaking to him in a, bad manner or whatever. I now decided to, speak to him more like, oh, and again, is that thing where I know that parents mean well, which is what the same thing he was saying yesterday. Because I had said, oh, I understand the parts from which you're doing this thing. You're thinking, oh, I want to do this good thing for my son, so he would have sustainable income in the future. And, he's probably coming of marriageable age. And my brother is 26 years old, right? And he's also thinking, oh, he has like an active person he's dating and, for marriage. And my father is probably thinking from the angle, which is what I said to him, right? From the angle of, I want him to do something that is sustainable because again, he will soon, start talking about marriage as well. And what if something goes wrong where he's currently working or with what he's currently doing? How is he going to maintain his household, that sort of thing? And I had to be diplomatic in a way that, oh, I know that I understand where he's coming from. And I also understand where my brother is coming from because, if you force him to go for that training or get into that position and he becomes lackadaisical or he starts to act out, who do you think this is going to fall back on? Maybe by that time it's become a disgrace, for everybody. But I also understand clearly that maybe what he's doing right now, to most of us, it may not seem like something that can, that would last for a very long time. But again, if the person who is doing it, who is working it says, oh, this thing is going to be sustainable for me and it's going to last, who are we to tell him, what to do or what not to do? Do you understand what I mean? So is that thing of we are older, right? So we are looking on what he's doing now and saying, oh, I don't think it's sustainable, or oh, I think you should get into this field, or oh, I think you should have other plans. Which again, even me that is working, I have like a corporate work, I still have other things I'm doing on the side, not because I'm thinking, oh, they can fire me anytime, but again, they can fire me anytime. I was here sometime in August talking about how my company let about 40 something persons go, not just from my Nigerian branch, but from, a makeup of all the other countries we are working with. And so maybe they can't fire you, based on the economic meltdown that is going on, not just in Nigeria, but other countries as well. But, is that thing of, looking at a job and not being sure of how you can make a living from that sort of thing. But, my father also explained his own side and why and I also explained like, okay, I get it and I understand, but if this man has said, oh, this is what I'm going to do, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't force him to do it. Happy that, they've been able to resolve. And I felt sad for him, for my dad, because he had paid money. And he paid money for 2 people. I think my brother and my cousin. Unfortunately, my cousin's name didn't come forth. And I'm now having to say, oh, if you had known, maybe you would have pushed further for the other person. And, we're still trying to see if there's a way that they can give it to my cousin, because technically my brother has no interest in it. And quite frankly, maybe I understand why he has no interest in it, because personally, I also don't have an interest in that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the ameba I wanted to do for you guys. That I've said this thing that parents want to be parents forever. And while they are parents forever, you have to learn to start being hands-free on your children's decisions. You can advise them on what to do and what you think as an adult, because again, you have gone past that age where you have seen certain things happen and certain people crumble based on these decisions that they are taking. But it's also not in your place to enforce it on them, which is why when I go on social media sometimes and I hear things such as, oh, my parents is making me marry this person, I feel like you've not created enough boundary and you have not really separated yourself as an individual and not based off of, oh, I have to carry on this family legacy. And it's sad. I'm not going to lie. It's sad for the parents because they may have planned out this life for you based on, these are my children and these are what I want them to do. But eventually you have to come to a place where you can tell your parents, oh no, this is not part of my plan. Because is it not better that you don't continue your family legacy in a very bad way and run down the business, or to tell them upfront that I don't have interest in this business that you're making me go into? But again, a lot of people are scared of their parents. And again, it's possibly how that thing where I think this thing has also happened in my extended family, where they start to report you to other uncles, and at the end of the day, it becomes a thing where everybody's trying to force you to do it. But yeah, that's it. Parents, please, you have to learn to start becoming hands-free when your children are now becoming adults and are now thinking of ways for themselves. If they make a wrong decision, last is going to be on them. Which is also taking me to the other thing that I said I was going to talk about. Decidophobia is a phobia for making decisions. I don't think that is what I have, but I think I've come to that age where that it's either you're making this decision or making this decision. So sometime last year, I was at a hair salon, where this man of God, this preacher man walked in, and one thing, he starts to say, oh, something just ministered to me, blah, blah, blah. I know at the time, one of my friends was saying, you need to be careful. And the reason why I knew that what he said was right, the revelation he, said was right, was because this was something that I was actively dealing with. I've been dealing with this thing for like 2 years. Yeah. And it's that thing where Okay, I'm going to get into it. So a lot of you guys should know by now that I read industrial chemistry, and in Nigeria there are not a lot of industries where you can work, or pharmaceutical companies where you can work and be paid your worth per se. And so since after my NYSC, I've been struggling with this. Should I Japa? Should I not Japa? Should I do this or should I not do that? Should I take this exam? Should I not take this exam? And while it may look to some of my friends who have traveled that I am not taking enough actionable steps, if truly I wanted to Japa. It's also that thing where I'm very confused in that people around me know that actively I have been applying to schools and I have been getting admissions both for schools in the UK and schools in the US. Now, the major issue is funding, and because I'm a salary earner, when I receive my salary, I do a budgeting, and I have to decide as well how to save for the year in order to pay for my rent, pay my bills, and also be able to help my father in with a bit of money for our last born's feeding in boarding house and blah blah blah. I have to plan all of these things. If I don't plan them, then what that means is I may have to start looking for where to borrow money from my friends, which I've said that story here where when I was using Kuda, I was always having to take overdraft from Kuda. Not because if I had planned properly, I would not be able, that my salary would not be able to sustain me. I would suffer, yes. I may not be able to eat well as much as I would want to, but it's not a thing where I would not entirely be able to fend with my salary, but it's just that I would suffer. You get. And so when I deleted Kuda, and I started to, stick strictly to budgeting and whatnot, and my stuff for Japa started to, record. Again, like I said, I've been actively applying to schools and I've been getting the admissions. But now, is it that they give me maybe 5K on top and I still need to look for 10,000? Or they give me 6K for 4 semesters and I still need to look for about 20 something K. Like, where am I supposed to get this amount of money from? And so I've been struggling with the decision of, should I take almost 150K to take an exam and know that, I may not be able to pay rent the next year? See, let me break this thing down for you in a way that you understand. So, if I am saying that within these 6 months, I want to save money to write an exam, what that means is, my rent money might not be complete for the next rent day. So meaning, is it that I'm saying, this year, I want to put everything that I have on this Japa, or I want to do a bit of application here and there and also put down my rent. So maybe, again, it has to do with faith, but maybe another thing is, maybe in the words of my friend E, I probably am not fully convinced that I want to live the rest of my life outside the country. And maybe because of that reason, it's seeming like I like that I'm suffering in Nigeria. Because again, Nigeria is not the place to be, especially if you're a young adult like me who is trying so hard not to make the wrong decisions. Because I've also heard stories of people, my friends, who have traveled and it's taking them like 2-3 years before they are able to stabilize. Because if you're taking loan to travel, or you're borrowing money, or you are given a scholarship that is not fully funded, or even, 80 or 90%, you're still going to struggle. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean. So I think I'm at that situation where I am struggling to make decisions as to what do I want to do in the coming year. Do I want to take the money that I have saved or set aside for rent, and actively pursue this thing where I am paying for application fees, I am paying for them to process my application as an international student, or I'm taking an exam that will make me viable to be considered for a scholarship, or I don't know. It's just, I've been struggling with this, taking of decisions like this, and also decisions with, that thing where people say, oh, marry. There's a blessing that's attached to marriages. At the end of the day, God will come through for you guys. I think I'm a big believer of, I want to be able to be comfortable on my own before I can merge with somebody else in, marriage. Because again, if I'm struggling, my partner is struggling, and we come together, nobody really knows what's going to happen. And I'm not saying that this is me not having faith that the blessing that's attached to marriage is not going to come upon me and my partner. I just feel like, so there's that indecision, like, oh wait, is your partner ready? Are you the one stalling your partner? And that sort of thing. I know that I've rambled in this second part, but people who get it would absolutely get it, because there's that thing with feeling unaccomplished, because probably if I had taken the bold step and left everything else, that all my worries, oh no, don't worry about rent. Maybe if I've gone to live at home with my dad, or if I've gone to live with somebody and we're paying in a, not so okay apartment, and we're paying small money, and I've been able to put money together for the year, maybe I would have been able to pay for these exams and also been able to afford a bit of maybe flight tickets or, all of those things. And I would have maybe taken one of these admissions and gone over there and tried to struggle. So is that thing where I don't think I want to go to somebody else's country to suffer. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. I know I'm rambling, but try and stay with me, right? I know that, yes, I have that off the back of my mind. And I also know that maybe if I had decided to struggle for like a year or two, I would have been able to raise maybe a bit of the money that I can use to pay for maybe housing. I don't know, but it's that thing again where I know that people who have traveled have had help and support from families, and also maybe they've had somebody over there who they can live with for maybe a semester or two before they can stand on their own. But as it is, it's just me. And sometimes when I speak with my friends, I worry that maybe the plan that I have for my life or how I want to go, Nigeria is sort of suffocating me. Even as an author, as an indie author, Nigeria is suffocating me, because some of the things that should come easy, if I had taken that bold step and traveled for school, I would not be in that position right now. And I don't know, it's just that entire feeling of, should I have taken that step? Should I still take that step? Or as I am in Nigeria, I'm not suffering per se. I am okay. I can take care of my feeding. It's just, I'm not as comfortable as I want to be. And maybe some of my friends who have traveled within the last 4-5 years are comfortable because of the way that the countries where they have traveled to have enough structure that you can start to build wealth and you can create wealth for yourself. But Nigeria really doesn't have as much as that, except you are, into content creation. Because I know, like, in Nigeria, that's the only way that people get to blow as such. You're into content creation, or you are into Bet Ninja. A couple of people were complaining this past week that women are now betting or gambling or whatever the term for that thing is. And I'm like, because Nigeria has made it in such a way that people are celebrated for having money without necessarily knowing the source of those monies. And while, social media and content creation has made it so that it is easy for you to come on social media and blow in one day and have a lot of money, is also that thing where people who genuinely want to work are also now feeling left out and unaccomplished because you have gone to university, you have spent so number of years, you have come out with a good result, and you are smart, you're a hard worker, but you really don't have anything to show for it. Whereas your counterparts in other countries, within a couple of years of traveling out, are owning a bit of properties of their own. But you, on the other hand, you decided to stay back in the country, maybe because you don't have support. Again, you guys have heard my own story. I know, I don't have any support from family. And so if I'm taking a decision such as this, I am taking that decision wholly on my own. Right? And it's that thing where I don't know whether I want to actively travel out without support again from anybody outside the country who can say, oh, I want to assist you, come stay with me for a semester while you find your footing, or come do this. And I don't know, it's really weird. Again, I don't know that I support gambling, but it's that thing again where anybody can just do these things and come into money of their own. Would you judge them? Do you understand what I mean? Would you judge them for it? Because even those of us who are making money legitimately, we are suffering. And again, people who have these monies, who have come into these big monies from gambling or from, these whole other things, maybe even content creation, which is a good thing, or which is a legitimate way now of making money. You also have to realize that if you are going to be doing the corporate life, and then maybe trying to live legitimately, you have to also come to a place where maybe you're content in what you're doing and in what you're getting. It's hard anyway, but again, if you have experienced, especially with the whole Japa thingy, and at the right time where you're supposed to settle down, maybe come and share with us in the comment section so we know that I know I'm not alone. I know I am definitely not alone, because again, like I said, I have a job and I write. You guys that don't know, I write. I do research writings. I do paperback formatting for authors, ebook and paperback formatting for authors, and that's how I make money apart from me writing my own books. And so I know that I make a bit of money here and there that sustains me and it keeps me going. If you have been in this situation where you're struggling with trusting God and just waiting on Him to give you direction, which is a prayer that I think I've started to pray for the past 2 years. God give me a sense of direction. And it's also that thing where I have a lot of talent. I have a lot of skills. And I don't know if these skills, God wants me to monetize them, or He's giving it to me to have to help people, around me, and not necessarily for business. I wrote something on my Instagram, my main Instagram now, not the one for the podcast, where I was saying that, I have gone MIA, because I don't have a book update for my own book. And this year has been one of the busiest for me. I think I'll talk about it towards the end of the year, not now. And it's this year that it's seeming like I'm not going to have a book published. Not because I don't have a story, but because I haven't been able to also decide if I want to have a launch. But all of those things again also have to do with finance, and all of that. And I don't want to rush the process. And so I'm learning to also take a step back and say, nobody's chasing me. Nobody's chasing me. I'm not rushing. I'm not running anywhere. Whether I publish a book this year or not, I'm still going to publish a book in subsequent, years to come. But is that thing where I don't know if this is actually what God wants me to do. And I was writing yesterday where I had said that, I know that writing is something that I can't let go of. And maybe podcasting as well, speaking, is something that I can't let go of. And so is that thing where I've been asking God to show me a sense, give me a sense of direction, or show me the right path, where if this is what you want me to do, I can do this. If you want me to go back to school, meaning I actually don't want to do my MSc in Nigeria, meaning if God wants me to go back to school, it is also Him telling me that I want you to leave the country. Yeah. So is that sense of direction where I'm saying, should I, because if I go back to school and say, I want to read chemistry, or I want to do pharmaceutical sciences, it means that I may not really have the time to combine that with writing and podcasting. I don't know if you guys are following what I'm saying. So is that thing of, if I'm going back to school, I may not really have time to be doing these things, which genuinely I love doing them. And so I don't want my Japaing to come from a place of, oh, I'm traveling based on school and then I fail out of school, because even though I am a smart person and I also know that I'll do exceedingly well, because I'm not giving enough time to that part of my life and, focusing on the podcast or on writing books, I would now fail. Yeah. So that's the long and short story of this whole thing of my indecision. Not that I have a fear or a phobia for making decisions, but I have actively been in this space or trance for 2 years where I am asking God to please show me or give me a sense of direction. Is it that this podcast gets monetized and I start to make money from it one way or another? Or my writing, I get a book gig or something, because indie author or indie authoring is my passion, but I am not earning from it. I'm not earning from it. So if I am going to go back to school, meaning I'm going to leave the country, I know that I'm going to be well off. And I'm going to be okay in that. But meaning I have to now kill my dreams, and maybe it will become a thing of, oh, I'm doing podcasting once a month, or I'm doing, I'm writing, I only have time to write once a week, or something like that. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, if you have been in this space and you have advice for me, this week now I'm the one asking for advice. If you have advice for me, please come into my comment section on YouTube and let me know. On YouTube, I'm Mara Abutu. On Spotify and other podcasting platforms, I am Rave with Mara. So thank you guys for tuning in this week. See you next week. Bye-bye.